Ogre Kingdoms. Ogre Kingdoms are a pretty alright campaign. They're a good mix of raiding, pillaging, and stomping through things. And they have a camp mechanic where they like to plop down camps that actually function better than most of their cities. So you want to spend most of your time upgrading your camp rather than upgrading individual cities that you actually live in. They're a heavy rush faction. They have some monsters, not a ton. Hopefully they'll get more in the DLC. A lot of their infantry feel samey with ogres, but it is a good time. It's a pretty simple campaign. Brain off. Throw on some music. Have a good time with it. Ogres in multiplayer have high speed on a lot of their infantry. Well, monstrous infantry, but ogres are the infantry for the ogres. So they're a monstrous infantry faction. Their lord choices aren't particularly great at the moment. Mostly you'll just end up taking Slaughtermaster of the Great Maw with his Great Maw or Beasts combinations. Not a lot of spell diversity there. There's a Fire Belly, but that unit currently, as of this taping, isn't very good. The Lord of Fire is fine, but that unit isn't great. And then you have to take a suboptimal Lord to pair it with, either Grease's Skulltooth or a Tyrant to be worth it, Winds of Magic-wise. So Fire Bellies aren't great. Hunters are alright. Hunters are okay. So your Lords and Heroes are all pretty... Ogres have one infantry unit, one missile infantry. Nobblars and Nobblar Trappers, they're okay in their niche. They are what they need to be. Nobblars are some of the cheapest infantry in the game, and as such, they will lose almost any fight you put them in. But they are nice to support the Ogres, so the Ogres don't take all of the damage. And Nobblar Trappers can do okay if you get almost all their ammunition off. I'm generally not a fan, but they're useful for what they're useful for. On to the real meat of the issue. Ha! I said meat. That's like a whole thing for them in campaign. I'm funny. Their cavalry is expensive, very good if handled perfectly, but it is easily punished by any mistake. The Mournfang cavalry are very tall, and their health pool isn't gigantic, so any archers can do a lot of damage to them, or spear units if they get stuck in them for any amount of time. But they all have insane charge bonuses, very high armor-piercing values, and some of them even have anti-large. So if you get proper cycle charging in and extremely high micro control on them, Mournfangs can carry an entire game for you. It's just risky, it's just tough. All of their Mournfang Cav is pretty good. All of them have a niche. Some are shielded, some are anti-large. Crushers in general will fight to practically the very end, which is rare for this faction. So their Cav is good, but temperamental. Their monstrous infantry is quite effective. It's very, very effective in a vacuum. Saber-Tusk packs are fine. Not the best dog unit, but they are fine. Ogre Bulls are really good. Ogre Bulls Lion Fists are fine. Iron Guts are armored version. Gorgers can do okay when paired with Scrag, and they are receiving some buffs soon, so maybe they will be good. Man-Eaters are your lead infantry. Man-Eaters Great Weapons is usually what I see in real top-tier Ogre builds, is one Man-Eater with Great Weapons just to run down Lord or something. And Stonehorns, if you're going to take a Stonehorn, you might as well take a Hunter on a Stonehorn, because it's like not even that much more gold. He's the missile version. So yeah, it's literally the same gold for better leadership, better melee attack, and melee defense. Though a little less ammunition and range. So, teach their own on that one. But, regardless, double Stonehorn builds can be pretty good. Extremely high armor, extremely high mass, just bulldozing through the enemy lines. But, again, effective cycle charging. So the Ogres are all about effective cycle charging in that regard. Their missile monsters are also pretty good. Man-Eaters with Ogre Pistols and the Powder Guts ROR are both incredible units. They are a hybrid of melee and ranged, and they're not fucking around neither. If dogs or furies attack them, they'll just kill them and then keep on shooting. No problem, no mess, no fuss. You usually don't need to defend them too much. As for the Lead Belchers can kill a large amount of infantry situationally. Their problem is they do run out of ammunition quite quickly, so you want to focus them mostly on elite or armored infantry rather than peasants, because they're going to kill peasants as well as they kill chosen, so you might as well shoot the chosen. Right. Lead Belchers are fine. Their artillery and war machines are pretty good because they're so fast. 66 speed on artillery piece means that Ogre Kite builds are actually rather lethal in some situations. And the difference between the Scrap Launcher and the Iron Blaster is just cheap, good at killing infantry, expensive, good at killing everything. If you're playing as the Ogres, you want to spam as many of the cheap Ogre Bulls as you can. They're incredibly cost effective. And like I did say, you'll probably want one Man-Eater with Great Weapons on hand in most matchups just to defend your backline and really mess up anybody that overextends. Other than that, you're either going to want to play a slow push build with plenty of lead belchers and man-eater pistols. You're going to want to maybe play kite builds with iron blasters, scrap launchers, and lead belchers, or you're going to play full rush with a ton of these guys, some Mornfang cavalry, some dogs, and very little ranged units to speak of. With ogres, you kind of have to commit. You have to commit to a strategy. There's few ogre builds that'll work that are generic. Like, oh, I can do a little bit of kite, I can do a little bit of rush. No, you just need to go all in. That would be my suggestion there. Don't overdo it on the Mornfang Cav, and if you're playing ogres, be very careful because they get in each other's way a lot, so you generally, at most, want 2 ogre units fighting the same thing. Ogre units, not Noblars. Who gives a shit about Noblars? But ogre units, you want 2 fighting anything at one time, otherwise, they're just getting each other's way. Ideally, just 1. Just 1v1 some stuff. They'll win a lot of 1v1 matchups. Okay? Okay. And charge effectively. Those would be my 2 big tips for them. Playing against the ogres, here's why they're struggling. Yes, their monstrous infantry is some of the best in the game, cost-efficient-wise. Yes, it all has really good stats. It's also all they have. Just grab anything that has anti-large attached to it. If it's a spear unit, spam it. Spam as much of it as you can. If your cavalry has anti-large, take it. Do that. Archers are incredibly effective against the ogres because they're so freaking tall. They stand over the front line. Your archers and handgunners can easily shoot whatever they want to. Yeah, you want some anti-large duelists, anti-large infantry, a lot of archers, anti-large cav, and you'll be just fine. If it's anti-large, take into the ogres. Ogres are also a relatively low leadership faction, so leadership debuff spells will be quite effective. A big mistake on the magic front is taking horde clearing tools that traditionally work. Pit of Shades, it's like, these things are okay, but they're not worth it. So like Pit of Shades isn't going to do as much damage to ogres because they're monstrous infantries, they don't have as many models. Burning Head, it's Discourage Aura is okay, but it's not actually going to kill that many models or do that much damage against this monstrous infantry faction. So you'll probably want to stick to Death Magic, Spirit Leech, Fate of Buna, Doom and Darkness, or buffs and debuffs are pretty effective, like the Lore of Beasts, Curse of Honor here is quite good. Lore of Heavens, the Curse of the Midnight Wind, plus Harmonic Convergence on your units is pretty good. So stick to buffs and debuffs, or stuff that hurts monstrous infantry, like Traitorkin, from the Beastmen could be pretty good. But really, really avoid your traditional Pendulum, your traditional Infernal Gateway, those kind of things. Pink Fire, Zinch. They just aren't going to do very much versus ogres, so just save yourself the time on that one. All right. Hopefully this helped. Roar! Subscribe, yes, yes.